How much you all think U.S. is borrowing every day to get this Wheel of Fortune going? How much you guys think is borrowing? Guess. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Like a number. It's in the billions. How many billions do you guys think U.S. is borrowing? No? Okay. Here's the answer. Are you guys ready? Ta-da! U.S. is borrowing $8 billion a day. Every single day. No, it's not. 100 billion would be ridiculous. 100 billion every 10 days. Yeah. So U.S. is borrowing $8 billion per day as rating agency Moody issues warning on nation's deteriorating fiscal strength. Moody's, by the way, lowered, our bond always used to carry AAA rating. You guys know what the rating agencies do, right? They go AAA, AA, A. About when the debt was about 25 trillion, Moody's and S&P cut the rating on the U.S. bond. Nobody talks about that. It doesn't mean anything because we're still the, global reserve currency. That's why, nobody touches it. But on the next topic I'm going to talk about, that's kind of going away. It's kind of getting replaced. But long story short, 8 billion a day. Every day we're borrowing. What's happening, right? And citing data from the Congressional Budget Office, CBO, the organization's president, Maya McGuinness, says the government borrowed more than $250 billion, that's 250 billion in your book, in the first month of the 2025 fiscal year. By the way, fiscal year and calendar year are two different things. U.S. government's first month of the fiscal year was October. Okay, that's the fiscal year. A lot of companies run different fiscal years. So when they say first quarter, second quarter, it's not like first quarter from January 1 to March 31. It's not like that. So 250 billion, over $250 billion we borrowed. So you take that, right? And we have to borrow 8 billion a day to get there. I mean, what is happening? With a deficit of 255 billion in just the first month of the fiscal year. So that's the first month of the fiscal year. In a fiscal quarter, there's 3 months, as we know. So we're going to borrow $750 billion to get the show going. You guys figuring this out yet? Is it just me that's like, I'm the idiot in the room? Is it just me that's just freaking me out, these numbers? Okay. Let me put it to you this way, guys. We're deficit spending to the tune of $3 trillion a year. And the interest payments on that is accelerating because 36, 37, 38, obviously, right? We take in only 4.7 trillion in income into the treasury, and we spend 7.5. If I did that in my house, we'll be bankrupt 10 times over. Why? Because I can't print money and spend. I can't create money out of thin air. So that our borrowing, right, isn't letting up on its own. It's not. It's going to happen with some sanity and some reduction of these numbers. And McGuinness, who's the head of the CBO, also warns that the government's rapidly increasing national debt could reduce Social Security benefits within a decade. That's me. Within a decade. I put my dues in. I paid my dues. I put tons of money into that thing. I'm serious. I'm like, by the time I retire, if there may not be anything left, and I'm going to be pissed off. Not that I was hoping to live on that money, because it's going to be nothing. Inflation has eaten all that money already. Even with the COLA adjustments, nothing, right? Okay, but again, if I'm going to get a couple $3,000 a month after paying into it for years, I want to get something out. Don't touch my stuff. Anyway, what remains consistent is the massive underlying burden of our national debt. In the next 2 years, debt will exceed its all-time record share of the economy. Okay? Think about this, people. We are at 130% of our GDP. And what do? We continue as is. We borrow, we spend, we borrow, we spend. And who's the biggest spender on the planet, by the way? The US government. So this is it. So see, this is a 1-inch pipe, and this is a 3-inch pipe. Okay. So 4.7 trillion comes into this 1-inch pipe. That includes all the Social Security taxes, all the income taxes, all the capital gains taxes. This is a market and real estate. All assets are at high. So if you do sell it, you have to pay the treasury some income tax, right? Capital gains tax. So that's 4.7 trillion right here. That's 1 inch. Okay, 4.7. The outgoing is 3 inches. So if you run your household with these two pipes coming in a 1-inch pipe going on in a 3-inch pipe, you're broke. So when Elon said last month, US government is going broke, I think Elon was being very, very nice. We are broke. We are the much larger version with a printing power, though, of Greece. You guys should go study the economics of Greece or Venezuela. We're pretty close, okay? The only saving grace we have, we're definitely more productive as a country. We have the best brains in this country. We produce a lot of well, we don't manufacture anything anymore, but we produce a lot of let's say software and all these things that we do. Obviously that our GDP has grown immensely, but what has done is that we borrow the money in the hope that that's going to turn into higher GDP. It was when we left the gold standard, it was for sure. For each dollar we were borrowing, we were producing $4 of GDP. Pretty good, 4-to-1 return. That's when GDP was like this. Now we grew our GDP to 27 trillion, GDP meaning gross domestic product. What is the ROI on that dollar that we're borrowing today? What is it? It's 54 cents. We're in the negative. For every dollar we're borrowing, we're creating 54 cents of GDP. We should at least be 1-to-1. Stop the madness.